Hello and welcome. This is Kara Stein, and I'm here to talk with you about how to attract clients and fans, how to set up your business to attract clients and fans for you, and basically the fastest way to get your business off the ground without going back to school, without hiring a team, and without wallowing in confusion or overwhelm. So you're in the right place today if you have an inspiring idea for your business and you want to get it off the ground and make a living with it. You've started your business but aren't making as much money as you'd like yet. You know there's no life like working for yourself and you want that life, and you don't like stuff that doesn't work. Here's what we'll learn. How to set up your business to attract fans and turn those fans into customers, how to make an automated system so that your business will do that for you day in and day out, how to design your business from the ground up to favor your strengths and feed your energy, not the other way around, what to do first, what to do next, and what not to do at all to make your business effective and profitable, and how to avoid the number one mistake that holds people back from building a successful business. And I want to tell you, make sure you stay to the end today because I've got a free gift for you for everybody who stays the whole way to the end of the presentation. I'm going to send you my resource guide with the exact tools that I use in my business, including how I conquer my tendency to procrastinate. So you'll want to stick around for that. Just to tell you a little bit about me, my name is Kara Stein. I'm the founder of 17,000 Days. And my motto is love yourself, love your work, love your life. And it's taken me a while. It's kind of taken a roundabout path to get to that. A few years ago, I was working at a university and, I had a safe, comfortable rut. I had a window office and I had really good benefits. And I was, it was an okay life, but I was bored, to be honest. And I wanted to do something more meaningful. I think a lot of the people that I talk to have the same thing. Their life, maybe it's not great, but maybe it's okay. But they want something more. They want to know that they're making the most of their gifts and doing everything they can with what they have. And so for me, the best thing I could think of was to be a writer. And so I started a blog and I hired a coach, and 6 months later I quit my job. And that was a really exciting time for me because I had never done anything like that before. I'd never had a business. I had never worked for myself. So to quit my job in 6 months was amazing. And it took some ambitious projects. My biggest one was a big joint affiliate launch with a whole bunch of people basically got together and included their ebooks and online courses in a big, huge package for $97. And that was my first six-figure idea. The big launch, the total sales were $109,610. And my cut of that was $9,311.38. And so that was a huge payday for me. I was really excited. And that's when I decided to quit my job. I turned in my notice like maybe a week later. So I was super excited. I was like, yeah, I've got this business. I can do this. And the next thing I decided to launch was an ebook. And I put my heart and soul into it. And I worked on it really hard. And I wrote it and I designed it and I launched it. And I probably spent a month just on the launch alone. And I made like a couple $100. And launching is a lot of work. If you've ever done it, well, like I said, I spent a whole month just on the marketing for the book launch for this ebook that then I made a couple $100. So I was kind of freaking out about how this was going to work in the long term because I can't live on just a couple $100 a month. And at the same time, I was graduating from my coaching program, and my coach really did. He focused on working with new beginners, people to start their businesses. He didn't really enjoy helping people continue to grow a business and build a business over time. So that was pretty much ending. And honestly, despite having gotten incredible results as a result of having a coach, I didn't hire another coach. And I hate to say it, but it was because I was too cheap. And that turned out to be the most expensive way to save money ever, because when I work with a coach, I get amazing results really fast. And when I don't, I tend to do exactly what I did back during the time that I'm telling you about, which is freak out, flail around, try a whole bunch of different things, run out of money, spend a lot of time stressing out and no time knowing what I was doing at all. So I was at this place where, I kind of run through all the money that I earned in the big launch and things that I was doing were really not amounting to anything, and I was freaking out, and I didn't know what to do. And every time I ran into people from my old job, they'd be like, "When are you coming back?" And I'd be like, "Gosh, never, I hope, but maybe next month." And so, and I ran into another old friend who offered me a different job, and I was like, "Man, I may have to do this, but I really don't want to." So I was like, "All right, what can I do to pull myself out of this?" And instead of doing what may be obvious to you, which is getting another coach, I continued trying things by myself and flailing around. And so the next thing I tried was freelancing. And that actually was the first time I experienced some momentum. And I loved what I was doing. Business was coming in. I had a predictable income actually after a year or so. I had built to the point where it was really flowing. And this seemed like, okay, I've finally made it, you know. And my boyfriend was diagnosed with cancer, and I was able, because I worked for myself, to be with him for all of his treatments and for everything he needed when he was sick. I was there for him, and that was amazing. And that was so gratifying because, like, in my old job, there's no way I could have done that, and I would have just been devastated every minute I was sitting in my office instead of with him. Um, so it was fantastic in a way, but it was super, super stressful. I was working all the time, and you know, with his illness, just incredible amounts of stress for me. And so I ended up burning out and falling into a deep depression and really not being able to work hardly at all to speak of for about 2 years. And so that was obviously very bad. Bad for the business, bad for me, bad for everything. And so the next thing I tried was adult coloring. And that, you know, it was the first thing that I was really enthusiastic about since before my burnout, breakdown, freak out thing. And so I released a coloring book for adults. And that was exciting. Everybody who looked at it said it was great. And again, I really didn't market it enough to stay ahead of the booming industry of that. And so my coloring book kind of ended up getting lost in the flood of everybody else making their coloring books. And so finally, within the last 6 months, I've been reunited with my original purpose, why I started the blog, which was helping people make the most out of their lives. Since then, I've fallen in love with coaching, and I finally have a business model that works for me. So the reason I'm telling you all this is that the point of this webinar today is to save you about 5 years of my mistakes. And so with that in mind, let's dive in. I want to talk a little bit to start with about what works and what doesn't work in business. Basically, you've probably seen different people who have businesses, and you've probably noticed that they fall into two categories. There are the people who have a business that owns them, and there are the people who have a business that feeds them. So obviously, you want to start a business that feeds you, not a business that owns you. But I can tell you, I've been in both, and having a business that owns you basically looks like this. You're always working, you're always striving, you've got a never-ending list of things to do. You don't know what to do first because there are so many, and it seems like they're all number one, and they all should have been done yesterday. You have the stress of bringing in business. You're never quite making as much money as you want. You're worried about where the next month's clients and income are going to come from. And, you know, you're doing this so that you can be there for the people you love, and instead you're working so hard that they can hardly even get time with you. And basically you're working harder than you ever have for a lower quality of life, way more stress, not enough money, and it ends up being worse than a job. So that's where I want you to not end up, and that's where I want to never ever end up again. That is a terrible place to be. Being owned by a business is pretty much the worst. But compare that to a business that feeds you. So in that case, you have a solid foundation, a system to nurture clients and bring them in regularly. You have a predictable income. You're doing what you're best at all the time, and that makes it fun. Like it feels good to do things you're good at. You love what you do, so that gives you more energy. Instead of sucking away your energy, your work actually makes you feel better. You have support to help you get better and better in your business and make things easier and easier as time goes on. And you always have enough. Once you get to the point where your business feeds you, you have enough money and you have enough time. And that is a feeling that there's just nothing else that compares to that. So that's what I want for you. And that's what this webinar is all about. I'm going to tell you how to build a business that not only feeds you, but even loves you back. So I just hit, there we go. So the 5 steps to building a business that loves you back are setting the scene, spreading the word, creating a memorable first impression with your right people, cultivating your community into adoring fans, and creating an irresistible offer. And in this webinar, we're going to talk about all 5 steps and how to do them well so that your business is set up for success. So to start with, no business can survive without sales. So what drives sales? To make a sale, you need all of these elements. You need to offer something that will help the person get what they want, whatever that is. The person needs to find out about it. Obviously, if they don't know about it, they can't possibly buy it. And if they don't want it, they won't buy it. And the person needs to believe that you can do what you say you will do. So that's, again, even if they know about it and they want it, if they don't believe you can actually deliver, they're still not going to buy it. So you need all of those 3 things. And what people sometimes don't realize is that in order for the person to believe that you can deliver what you say you will, you have to believe that you can deliver what you say you will. And that's sometimes tricky because a lot of times we don't have a lot of confidence, especially when we're starting out. We have a lot of inner blocks that we don't know about yet, or little critical inner voices inside our heads telling us that we're not good enough. And another thing that people don't realize is that even if you believe it's the greatest thing in the world, if you also believe that selling it will make you miserable, you will do everything in your power to make sure that nobody buys it. So all of these things have to come together and work together in order for your business to succeed. And the first step that I want to talk about is so important because that's kind of the foundation for building something that you can believe in and that you really want to sell so that you won't hold yourself back. So the first step is setting the scene. And I want to give you an example to let you know why this is important and why, to give you an idea of what I'm talking about here. So a few months ago, I had just discovered coaching and I was super excited about it. And I decided to offer a 3-month coaching package. And so I made the sales page and I set up the shopping cart and I did all the things and I hosted webinars and I sent out emails and I did all this stuff and I talked on the phone to people and nobody was buying it. And after a while, I was like, there must be something going on because this is a good thing. Like, this would be awesome. Like, everybody that I talked to on the phone, in fact, really would have benefited from buying it. And some people really seemed like, yeah. Some people actually said, yes, I want this. And then flaked out and disappeared and never paid and never signed up. So anytime you notice a pattern like that in your business, you need to think about, like, what is going on with me? Like, what is creating this pattern? And so I took a week and a half off over Christmas and I really thought about it and I realized I don't want to have coaching clients where I have to talk to them every week and we have a set time and all this stuff is in my schedule. I hate a lot of stuff at times in my schedule. And so I was making sure that nobody would buy that so I wouldn't have to do that. And once I realized that, it was like, oh, wow, that sounds kind of crazy, but like it sort of makes sense in a backwards way. So then I could figure out, all right, I don't want to do weekly calls like that. Like, I hate that. So how could I instead offer something that would actually be fun? And so I came up with the idea of having clients do a work binge, basically like a Breaking Bad binge or a TV show binge, but with building your business. And you just get together and do it really fast, and nobody has a chance to get tired of each other or get stuck in misery or any of that stuff. And so I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. But once I realized that, then everything unlocked, and it's been very exciting ever since. Whereas if I'd continued trying to sell a 3-month coaching package, my subconscious mind would have made sure that I never sold it and never succeeded because I didn't want to do that. So as you're building your business, you really need to figure out what it is that you want to do and make sure you design your business around what you like, what you're good at, your best strengths, the way you like to work, and all that kind of stuff. Because you don't want to spend building a business is a lot of work, and you don't want to spend years building this thing that it turns out once you get to the top and you get it built, you hate it. That's tragic, really. And so that's what I'm talking about with setting the scene. If you think about your zone of genius, what you're best at and what you love doing, that is what you need to do in your business, because that's where you'll do the most. That's where you'll do the most good. That's where you'll do your best work, and that's where you'll be happiest. So as you look at the other steps and the other pieces, I want you to think about how you can craft all the parts of your business around what feeds you, what you love, and what gives you energy. And I want to share a little case study here. There's a band called Pomplamoose that, if you think you can't make money doing what you love, these guys are the total counterexample, because they're just a quirky little band, 2 people. They play instruments and mostly do cover songs, and they just record them. And they've got their own little goofy style where you can see everybody playing the instruments and singing and everything. And it's really not at all mass appeal. It's just their quirky thing, and they love it. And you can tell it comes through in the videos. And they started in 2008, and they built a fan base on YouTube. And in 2014, they were spending less than $300 per video to make these videos, and they got on a website called Patreon, where people can become patrons, like in the old days when a king would sponsor an artist to paint all of his portraits or whatever. So they got on this website and asked people to sponsor them for $1 per video, and they were releasing 2 or 3 videos per month. And they were still making their main videos free, like you didn't have to pay and you could still hear all their songs. But for people who were patrons, they were offering bonuses like tutorials and karaoke tracks. And by the middle of 2014, they had 1,389 patrons and were earning $4,958 per video. By the end of that year, together they were drawing $5,000 a month in a salary. So $60,000 a year. They ended up getting married later. So $60,000 a year to do exactly what they love to do and make music. And I just think that is really awesome. And I found that so inspiring, because if they can do that, anybody can. Like if you're not familiar with Pomplamoose, you should really check them out, because it's just this super quirky thing that you would not think would be something you could make a living at, and they totally are. So one of the things that's been key for Pomplamoose has been spreading the word. They did not wait for people to find them. They made the most of what they had, and we're going to talk about that next. Basically, by the end of 2014, they had over 400,000 YouTube fans. They went on a massive 28-day tour. They spent over almost $150,000 and ended up losing like $11,000. But the purpose of the tour was to get the word out and build fan loyalty. And basically, if you encounter anybody who's heard of them and listened to them and likes them, they love them. I don't think there's anybody who's lukewarm about Pomplamoose. So they are really good at building loyalty and building like really strong fans that are committed and adore them. And I think that's awesome. It's really important. Basically, it's crucial to your business to spread the word. And I'll give you another example of that from my business. When I first launched the blog, I wrote a book called How to Be Happy, No Fairy Dust or Moonbeams Required. And I was super excited about it. Took a week off of work. This is when I still had my old job. Took a week off work to write it, like poured my heart and soul into it, everything I could think of, and wrote it and released it. And couldn't wait to take the world by storm with it. And it was free, so there was no I basically thought that everybody in the entire universe was going to download it right away because it was free and it was awesome. And so during the first weekend, 23 people downloaded it, and I was utterly crushed. Like, I was about to despair about the whole thing because it was just 23 people. It's so small. And the problem is I really didn't have a way to get the word out yet. I was brand new with blogging. I had a very tiny email list. And, I asked some of the bigger people who were more famous to share it, and a couple of them did. But basically, nobody had ever heard of me, and so nobody downloaded it. But over time, as I have spread the word, I ended up putting that book out on Amazon and iTunes and Barnes and Noble and a bunch of online bookstores, listing it free. And it's been downloaded 81,704 times as of the end of December. So you can see, like, spreading the word makes a huge, huge difference. And if you don't do it, basically, you're not going to get anywhere unless you happen to be one of the lucky few who gets struck by lightning, Twitter lightning or something, and suddenly becomes famous without that. You just can't count on that. You have to spread the word yourself. And a lot of people have a problem with that because it can be scary. You really have to put yourself out there, and a lot of people are not ready to do that. Also, if you're just thinking about, like, oh, I need to get the word out about my business, it's kind of hard to know how to do that, like what to do, where do you start? And also, if you don't believe in yourself, you're too scared to even try, right? So I want to share with you a few ways to get the word out. And you don't have to copy this down. Um, if you signed up for this webinar, which obviously you must have, or you wouldn't be here, I sent you a mind map, which includes all of these notes. Some of the ways to get the word out include speaking, either in person or online like this, networking, social media, proposals. When I was freelancing, that was my main way of getting the word out. I sent out proposals. Joint venture partnerships, search engine optimization or SEO, guest posting, traditional media, advertising, sponsoring events, and posting on forums. And as you look at this list, it's important to pick one thing. Like, a lot of people, myself included, want to figure, okay, like, if I do as many things as possible, that'll be the most awesome possible, and I'll be the most likely to succeed that way. But really, you get a lot more traction if you focus on one thing that you're really good at. So as you look at the list, think about really which way fits best with your strengths and your abilities and the business that you want to build. Pick one way and go on from there. So once you've picked a way to get the word out, people can find you, and that is awesome. But it's not enough. People very rarely buy from strangers. They need to have a way to remember you, and so that's why the next step is crucial. The next step is making a memorable first impression. And basically, for this, you want to come up with some kind of gift to give people that lets them get to know you and lets them experience how awesome you are. So you want this to be something that delivers value and is memorable. One way to do that is a video presentation or a webinar. People basically get to spend an hour or more with you and see what you're about and hear about your stuff. And if you present something valuable, that is the start of a relationship. Another way is through a book. If people spend several hours reading your stuff, that's another way that basically they can feel they're getting to know you and getting to know what you offer. But it doesn't have to be anything that big. It can be something much smaller. Like over Christmas, I developed a kind of a joke thing that's going to be one of my new first impression offers, and I'll just show you a little preview here. It's a magazine called Left Out, and it's a parody magazine that I developed because one of my assignments from coaching school was to come up with a tangible representation of my gremlin or my critical inner voices. And this idea just came to me right at the beginning of Christmas break to make it a fashion magazine, because basically fashion magazines, their whole purpose is to tell you you suck so that you can want to, feel bad and want to buy stuff to try and feel pretty again. And so I made this whole parody magazine, and it was just really fun. It was, and everybody who's seen it in person has really been blown away because it totally looks like a magazine, but it's hilarious because it's just, all the things that are in your head that you hardly even notice, I've got them on paper and with representation. And so that's going to be a very memorable thing that I believe will help people, get to know me, kind of get my sense of humor, and begin to make a connection with me. So for your first impression gift, there are a lot of different options. And think of this as a free sample. Like, I know anytime you go to Costco, especially on a Saturday, the place is mobbed, and you can basically eat a whole meal because vendors are giving out free samples of their various food. And people love that. People love free samples. So any way you can give a free sample of what you offer, that is awesome. So some of the easiest ones to do are an ebook, a checklist, a resource guide, a mind map, an infographic. Um, you can also do a print book, an email course, a webinar, a video or a series of videos, a group call, or an individual consultation or strategy session. These are all really popular ways. And as you decide, again, you want to pick one to focus on, at least until the beginning, until, once you get that working, sure, go ahead and make some more. But in the beginning, pick one thing and focus on making it really good. And that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be big. It's actually good for something to be something that people can consume very quickly, just download. And an ebook, for instance, you can download it, you can read it, you can skim through it. It doesn't require a lot of commitment on the part of the visitor or future client. They just get it, they can flip through it on their own time, and then if they like it, they can pursue you more. So as you choose which first impression incentive to offer people, definitely think about what you like to do and what kind of people you want to attract. So for instance, if you hate writing, writing an ebook for your first impression incentive might not be the best choice, because that's going to attract people who like to read, and you may end up kind of setting yourself up with a case where you need to keep writing to those people. Whereas, if you hate to write, maybe videos would be better for you. For someone like me, I'm not a huge fan of video. It's kind of hard for me. So I would much rather do an ebook or some kind of written thing. But video is very powerful, so it's worth pursuing as well. So just for your first thing, pick the one thing that feels best to you, that feels like it meets your strengths and makes the best of what you like to do, and do that. But that's just the beginning. Not everyone will be ready to buy immediately when they discover your freebie. A lot of times people will discover you and then years later finally buy from you. I know there's one, well, my current coach, honestly, I joined her email list because of a telesummit that she was hosting in January of 2012. And it was a great telesummit. It was really memorable, but I was not in the market for a coach at that time. And finally, this past summer in 2016, I signed up with her. So 4.5 years later, I ended up becoming a client. So, and that's why it's so important, this whole structure, because as you build this structure, you can have those people kind of incubating, and you're building relationships with them, you're keeping in touch with them. And then when they are ready to buy, they remember you and they think of you and they trust you and they like you and they know you and they want to work with you. So, so that's the goal here, and that's why step 4 is so important: cultivating your community of adoring fans. Some people do this really well. I don't know if you're familiar with Pat Flynn of Smart Passive Income, but he is fantastic at this, to the point that when he decided to release his first Kindle book, this was when I was freelancing, and that was one of the things I offered as a service. And I was just like, Pat, you've hooked me up so much over the past, however long I'd been following him at that point. I was like, dude, I want to give back. Let me format your Kindle book for you, no charge. Like, just, that's my gift to you. He's like, oh, sure. And, for me to offer to do something for free like that was pretty amazing. And what's more amazing is that somebody even more persistent and determined ended up bumping me aside and getting that gig. Like, I didn't even get that gig. But the fact that there were multiple people who really wanted to do that for him just really speaks to how great he is at building those relationships. So again, people buy from people that they know, like, and trust. And you can establish that by keeping in touch with people. But make sure you do it your way, because again, if you create it as something that you have to do instead of something that you like to do, you're not going to keep it up. But if you keep helping and teaching and providing value to people so that they respect you as an expert, then when they're ready to buy, you'll be who they think of. And just a little bit about the word expert. A lot of people think, oh no, I have to have a PhD, or I have to be, the most amazing sauce, perfect, awesome, whatever. But in order to provide value to people, all you really need is to be a little bit ahead of where they are. So, even if you're in 6th grade, you're amazingly advanced compared to a 4th grader. So just be honest about who you are and offer what you can offer, and that will be valuable to your right people. So don't get hung up about having to know more and having to be more. Like, you are valuable now, and you can offer your valuable thing right now. And in that sense, you'll never be an expert. You'll never be ready. But if you start working with people now, you can start developing those skills and growing even more. And meanwhile, offer them what you know now, and that is valuable. So ways to build those relationships, there are a lot of different ways, of course, but here are some. Blogging, starting a podcast, an email newsletter, or other kinds of email, videos. You can start a Facebook group. You can do Facebook Live in your Facebook group if you want to, maybe once a week or something. Just get on there and be available to answer questions or have a little informal presentation that you want to give. You can offer group calls. You can offer webinars like this one. Some people do a webinar every month. I've actually been doing that since October-ish, except I missed January. And you can also contact people individually. For example, if somebody signs up for your mailing list, you can just write to, you can set up an autoresponder message or write in person yourself to some or all of the people who sign up and say, hey, welcome to the community. What can I do to help? Or what's the biggest problem you have in this area? Or what's the biggest thing you want the most in this area? And start getting to know people and build those relationships. And for some people that feels very natural, and for some people it really doesn't. Like, this is one of the things that's really not natural for me. And so I prefer to stick with things like a newsletter, or maybe a monthly webinar. I'm thinking Facebook Live would be fun too. But again, just picking one thing to be your main thing. And like you can see, it's always easy to want to do many, many things, but my main thing is my email newsletter. And I recommend picking one main thing for yourself also. And again, pick it based on what you like to do and what you're good at. So there's one last key to getting customers, and you can't have a business without it. And that's what we're going to talk about next. That's creating an offer so people can actually buy something from you. Ideally, you want it to be an irresistible offer. And what do I mean by that is basically just if you offer the solution to a problem that somebody has and they really want to solve that problem, and they know you and trust you and like you, and they hear about your solution, it's going to be irresistible to them. So again, the key is to solve a problem that your ideal client has and present it in their words. That's the other thing that a lot of people miss. For example, if I was selling a meditation program, I could say, oh, join my program. It's the 5 minutes a day, blah, blah, blah meditation protocol, and you'll learn how to do NLP or something. I don't even know. Like, all those words don't really necessarily mean anything to your ideal client. But if you say, I'll help you relax and you'll feel better, and you'll be able to think better, your head will be more clear, maybe you'll even sleep better. It's like, oh, suddenly that's much more interesting because it's a problem that they really have, and it's in words that they would use. So it's really important, as you're thinking about what to offer, to think about it from the client's perspective and not from your perspective. That makes it much more enticing and irresistible. And again, build this around your greatest strengths and what you love doing, and who will be inspiring as customers. As you think about what you want to offer, think about who would want that, and then think about, would you really want to work with them? Or you could go from the other direction and think, okay, who would I really love to work with? Who would be so awesome and amazing? And then go, okay, well, what problems do they have and what do they want? And eventually, as you build your business, you're going to want to have a ladder of products that kind of build on each other, so that somebody can just start maybe with a very low cost, low commitment offer. And then the next step is something a little higher. Like, maybe you start with an ebook and then they sign up for an online course, and then they realize that this is amazing, but it'd be even better with your support, so they sign up for a group program or something like that. Ideally, you want to have a series of things so that as somebody signs up for something and likes it, you have further steps for them to take where they can commit more and work with you more. So there are a bunch of different things you could possibly offer. You can offer products or services. And among products, there are ebooks, courses, programs, packages. You can offer membership clubs or groups. You can also do physical products, and that's a lot easier and less of a hassle than it ever used to be. If you want to do physical products, you can actually use Amazon's fulfillment service. So you don't have to ship out individual orders or keep all the stuff in your house anymore. You can actually do a physical product almost as conveniently as an online product if you use Amazon's fulfillment service. And that's not meant to be a plug, just I've tried it and it's pretty awesome. So those are the products you can offer. And also you can offer services, including coaching, consulting, feedback. For instance, one of my friends offers a service where she will review your blog for you and give you suggestions for how to make it more stronger, more appealing, that kind of thing. And you can offer done-for-you services as well. For instance, when I was freelancing, I would edit people's books and design their book cover for them and get the book all ready to post on Amazon or to print as paperback. So that's an example of a done-for-you service. They would just send me the stuff and I would do it for them. So as you're thinking about what to offer, make sure the math works before you go to all the trouble of trying to build this and make it work, because it can be a lot of work to create something, and it can be even more work to actually launch it and sell it then. So I just want you to think about the math, basically. As you consider what kind of product you want to offer, think about how much you want to make in a year. And then if you divide that by 12, you can get how much money you want to make in a month. And then as you think about your price point for your service, basically if you divide the money you want per month by the price point, you can find out how many sales you need to make per month. And then you can think about whether that's actually, feasible. So for example, if I want to make $120,000 a year and sell, well, if I want to make $120,000 a year, that means I need $10,000 a month, right? So if I had 5 clients at $2,000 each per month, that would give me $10,000 a month. Or if I'm selling an ebook for $10, that means I need to make 1,000 sales. So as you think about this stuff, especially if you're just starting out and you're maybe not super great at sales yet, the numbers are pretty rough on lower ticket items. Like I told you about earlier with my ebook, it was really hard to get a lot of sales. And so, I worked and worked and worked for like a month to get a couple $100s. Whereas if all of those sales had been clients at a couple $1,000s a piece, I would have actually had enough to live on. So as you're thinking about this, think about something that you can offer as your first product. Like a lot of people want to start at the beginning, at the low end, and that's what I did. And I would recommend thinking about starting at the high end instead, because, then if you just make, 10 sales or whatever, but it was $1,000 each, there you go, you have $10,000. Whereas if you make 10 sales at $10 each, you got $100, and that's not enough. So just a suggestion. Obviously you don't have to listen to me, but if you start at the high end, that gives you the resources to stay in business, and then you can later come back and develop the low end stuff. So basically we've covered the 5-step system. Here's how to put it together. Basically you want to set the stage, get clear on your offer, what your business is about, who your ideal client is, pick one way of spreading the word, pick one first impression gift to start building a relationship with people, pick one way to continue building that relationship, pick one thing to offer, and build it all and put it out there. So as you look at this, probably doesn't seem that complicated, right? You just do the stuff, and there's only 5 steps, and you make the stuff. But what's sad is that so many people want to do this and intend to do this and say they're going to do this and put a ton of work into trying to do this, but never actually do it. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about why that is. One of the reasons I kind of touched on earlier, which is we often try to pad our bets by trying a lot of different things. And this is a big thing for me that I have to restrain myself from, because it seems like if you do a lot of different things, you got a better odds of something working, right? But really, if you throw all of your energy into one thing and really do it well, you get way more out of that than just doing like little partial efforts at a bunch of different things. It's kind of counterintuitive, but that is how it works. So a lot of people, make that mistake. They try to do a whole bunch of different things and they never really get to any kind of critical mass with anything. A lot of people just get stuck in fear and procrastination and never really get anywhere that amounts to anything. And another thing is what you see on the slide here, which is kind of a cycle that every project goes through. And I didn't know this was a thing until just a few months ago, but it really, as I look back over my life, it's a huge pattern that I just never picked up on. And that is, for each project, if you start at the left of the slide, in the beginning, you're so inspired and you got this idea and you have this vision for what you want it to be and you're so excited. And so your energy and enthusiasm is at an all-time high, and you dive in and you get started. It's like, yes, it's the best. And then as you work on the thing, you start to notice that it's a little bit more difficult than you expected. At least in my case, every time it's more difficult than I expected. And, you get a little farther away, the inspiration starts wearing off, and you start noticing how difficult it is. And eventually you get to this place where you're kind of far away from the inspiration that you had in the beginning. And you're also really nowhere near getting the results yet. And all you have is a lot of hard work, and it sucks, and it feels bad, and it feels like you're never going to get anywhere. And this part is called the Valley of Despair. And basically for any project that's worth doing, you're going to end up in the Valley of Despair at some point. And the reason that's important to know is that either you can quit and try something else and start back up on that initial peak where it's all enthusiasm and no hard work yet, or you can keep going through the Valley of Despair and keep working on it and start getting traction, get your first win, and eventually claw your way out to your results, which again, you feel great then. It's very inspiring and exhilarating, and you're so proud of yourself because you've done this difficult thing, and it's even better than the beginning because you've been through all this stuff and you've mastered something you didn't know how to do before. And so it's amazing. And the thing is, most people go through that beginning half of the cycle where it's the inspiration and everything, and they get into where the going starts to get tough, and they get to the Valley of Despair, and they say, oh, this sucks, this isn't working. And so they quit and try something else and start back up at the beginning of the cycle. And I have done that myself, basically my entire life. You get to the Valley of Despair and you think, oh, well, this isn't working. Only a fool would continue. And so you quit and do something else. But anything that's great and worth doing, you have to go through the Valley of Despair, keep on going until you get your wins and you get your results. And so this is one of the huge things that holds people back. They get to the Valley of Despair and they quit. And they may not even intend to quit. They may just be like, oh, I'm taking a break, I'll get back to that later. And then they just never do. I've done that myself plenty of times. But the thing is, if you really want to succeed, you have to make it through that somehow. You have to make it out the other side of that Valley of Despair. And the thing about that is that it feels awful, especially if you're by yourself and you don't have a mentor or a guide or other friends who are entrepreneurs. Basically, you're there and you're in the trenches and you're working harder than you ever have in your life, and you're not seeing results and you don't know why, and you've got a million things to do and you don't know which one do first, because they're all so important and they all should have been done, weeks ago, it feels like, because you need more money and it's not coming in yet. And all those things might make it come in, except you haven't done them yet. And you're overwhelmed and you're constantly falling short. And there's one thing that could unlock everything for you, but you have no idea what it is, and you have no way of finding it out for yourself. And you find yourself awake at 3 a.m. crying and not knowing if it'll ever work, and thinking you're not good enough and that's why it won't work, and realizing that even a job that you hate might be better than this. And that is, I think almost everybody who goes into business experiences that at some point. I've certainly been there. But the thing is, if you have some kind of support, that changes everything. And that's one thing I really want you to think about today. Whether you work with me or someone else, the difference having support makes is, when you get to that valley of despair, you have someone else to cheer you on and to believe in you and to remind you what you're working toward, and to help you see which things will work and which things won't work. And when something isn't working, to help you see why and what you can do to improve it, and to help you build a concrete plan so it's not just flailing around in the valley. You can see the path that'll take you out, and to help you see a different perspective. A lot of times, really, where we get stuck is the inner blocks inside ourselves, our critical inner voices, or old baggage from our childhood or whatever. And there's no way to transform that by yourself, because you're in it, you're stuck in it. You can't see it because it's part of you. Whereas somebody else can see it and help you identify it and help you work through it. And then suddenly, all of the feeling that there's something in you that's making it not work, you realize it's not that you're not good enough. It's just that you had this inner block, and now you've cleared it and you can go, and you feel the freedom of actually having things start to work. And then you start building momentum, and things get better and things get easier, and it starts to feel good. And the beauty of working with a coach, in my experience at least, is that you can create results that are so much better and so much faster than you ever would by yourself. Like, I have accomplished more in the last 6 months working with my new coach than I did in the whole previous 5 years. And I'm like absolutely serious about that. Just having somebody else to guide you and believe in you and help you figure out what to do next, and help you make a plan and give you their experience, and create that structure and accountability for you, just makes amazingly much difference. There's a lot of stuff that I would not have tried in a million years on my own. And since working with a coach, I've done it, and it's been really awesome and really successful. So I want that for you. I want a business of momentum that supports you, that keeps getting easier and better and growing. And I want you to have peace and love and less stress and abundance. Like, most of all, I want you to have all the money that you need and all the time that you need to live the life that you want, and to spend time with your loved ones, and to take your kids on vacation if you have kids, or whatever that important thing is. Take your boyfriend to chemotherapy if that's what it is for you. Like, life is short, and that is the stuff that's important. And we're never going to get to our deathbed and be like, man, I wish I had spent more time making a sales funnel. If we can do the things that support us and create a business that feeds us, that becomes the fuel that makes the whole rest of your life work, and it makes the whole rest of your life possible, instead of sucking you away from the rest of your life. And so that's the kind of business that I want to help you build. Whether you work with me or with someone else, I hope you will get support, because that makes it so much faster and so much easier. So please remember, this is not just theory. This is what I've lived basically over the past 6 years. And I've given you the exact process that I used to build my business and quit my job in the first place. And then the same one that I've used to build it back after my 2 years of depression, during which I really couldn't work at all to speak of. This is real. This is the real deal. And like I said, I want you to have a really happy life, a full life, and a meaningful life and a joyful life. So that's what this is all about. It's about earning a dependable living. It's about building ease and momentum with clients coming in regularly, instead of you having to hustle and worry and wonder where they're going to come from next. It's about loving your work. It's about making a difference. It's about being able to set your own schedule. It's about being able to work from anywhere, whether that's a tropical paradise or just your own back patio. And most importantly, it's about being able to set your own priorities and be there for the people that are important to you in your life. So I'm not sure why you showed up today. Maybe you're fed up working for someone else and you'd love to build your business and quit your job. Maybe you already have a business and you want to start attracting clients and sales more easily. Maybe you're building a side hustle and you want to do it without needing so much hustle, like totally been there. Or maybe you're simply tired of being in your own way and doing things the hard way all the time. Whatever it is, I hope you really get this. I've just given you the exact process that will get your business ready to start attracting clients and sales for you. This is the journey that's utterly changed my life, and this is something you can do too. You can, in a very short period of time, have a working business that brings you clients and income. And I just want you to take a second and think about what that would look like for you and what that would mean for you. So the obvious question is, how do I apply this and how do I make it work in my business? Well, you have a choice. Basically, you can do the slow way, which is to go it alone and try to cobble together a solution from free stuff that you find on the internet, feel all the overwhelm, dwell in the valley of despair, have to figure out everything yourself, and try to do your own, undo your own inner blocks. The years that I spent without a coach, I call that the most expensive, cheap thing I've ever done. But it's a legit thing to do if that's the way you want to go, or you can do it the fast way, and that is to use my full step-by-step process and support and get your business ready to attract your future clients in 2 weekends. And so that's what I want to talk to you about. I've created a program that will help you do exactly that, and it's called the Business Building Blitz. It's a 2-weekend intensive designed to get your business ready to attract your future clients fast. And basically, I'll guide you through executing the exact step-by-step process that I've created. And the what's awesome about the process is that I've boiled it down to the absolute essentials. So you will create everything you need and you'll waste zero time doing stuff that you don't need. You'll have my personal attention on your business. I'll be giving you feedback and suggestions on everything you create. So, for example, if you're not a great writer, I can help you with your sales copy to make it more persuasive and make it flow better, make it sound better. If you're not really sure who your ideal client might be or what might be the distinguishing factor about your business, I can help you get clear on that. If you're not great with the tech, I can help you set up the stuff. That's what I'm here for. That's what we're spending 4 days doing. And, I would love to help you set all that stuff up. And again, the structure of the program sets you up to build what you need quickly and to stay on track. So basically, in 4 days, there's no time for procrastination. There's no time for screwing around. There's really no time for the valley of despair because it's such a compressed timeline. You're never very far from the inspiration that you had at the beginning, and you're never very far from the results. And you have a guide to help you get through the valley. So this program is delivered as a virtual intensive. It's over 2 weekends. We'll meet on Zoom, and I'll give you each step and how to do it effectively, and then I'll turn you loose so you can go and work on your stuff. But I am available, like I'm yours all day. If you want to hang out and talk to me all day and get my feedback on your stuff all day, that's what I'm there for. So there'll be plenty of time to ask questions. As you work on something, you can get feedback. You can get feedback from the group if you want to, or you can pull me aside into a virtual breakout room and I'll go through things line by line with you. Whatever you need, I will make sure you have it so that you can get this done in the 4 days. Each day will be 8 to 10 hours with a lunch break, and at the end of day 4, you'll have your full platform set up and ready to use. So specifically, here's what we'll do. We'll nail down your unique position in the marketplace, your ideal client, and we're not going to waste a bunch of time making up, a blood type and a social security number for this person. Just the absolute essentials about how they think, which will give you enough to know when you're writing how to write to them. So if you make your copy personal, as if you're writing to just one person, that's what makes it powerful. And that's why it's important to get just the basics of your ideal client. And that's what we'll do. We'll nail down what you want to offer as your paid offer, how you want to spread the word, how to build relationships, what you want for your first impression gift. We'll actually create that as far as writing it or recording it if it's a video or whatever. You'll design it, you'll build it, I'll help you, and we'll publish it by the end of the intensive. And by the end of the program, you will have your business's welcome mat out and ready for people, so that any visitor who comes by can sign up on your email list, get your freebie, and start building the know, like, and trust factor with you. So by the end of the second weekend, you will have the whole foundation ready so that you can start bringing in your future clients, and your business can help you nurture them for you. So the upcoming dates for this program, the next one is March 11th and 12th and 18th and 19th. So that's 2 weekends in a row in March. And there's another one also coming up in May if that March one doesn't work for you. Obviously, I'm a big believer in doing things quickly and doing things as soon as possible. So I recommend signing up for the March one if you can, but if you can't, the May one's there available. And hopefully that's enough notice that you can set aside those dates and really, plan that into your schedule. So I'm sure the next question you have is, what is the investment? I always want to know this too. I always want to know this right away. And I'm not going to give you some big sales pitch, but first, I really do want you to think about what it will cost you not to do this. So if we go back to the math we were doing earlier, if you look at what is your monthly revenue goal for your business once it's working, think about, if it takes you a month or 2 or 3 or 6 or 12 to do this, think about how much revenue that's costing you. So the example I gave you earlier is I want to earn $120,000. That's $10,000 a month. If it takes me 3 months to do this, I've just cost myself $30,000 in revenue that I would have gotten that I can't because I don't have all this stuff set up. And if it takes me 6 months, that's $60,000. That's insane. But even if you have just small goals for a small business, let's say you only want to make $2,000 a month, and you're pretty quick at this stuff, and somehow you really don't have a lot of inner blocks, and so you finish it in 2 months, that's still $4,000. So I really want you to get present to that and think about it. The investment for the Build Your Business Blitz is $29.97, and I'm also offering a six payment plan of $557 a month. And so that is the price. And I'm also offering, if you apply within the next 2 hours, I will set up your website for you. And that includes buying a domain, buying the hosting, installing WordPress, setting up the website, and setting you up with a basic, attractive theme. So if you're not real tech savvy, I hope you'll think about that, because that could save you a lot of hours of stress and headache. And it's really nice. Everybody needs a website. It's not the most important thing, but if you're talking to people, the first thing they usually ask you is, oh, well, what's your website? I want to look you up. So it's really good to have that. So if you order within the next 2 hours, apply within the next 2 hours and you get in, I will happily do that for you. So if you want to know how to order, how to apply, there should be a button that's popped up on the right side of the screen, and you want to click that, and it'll take you to the sales page. Okay, so the sales page looks like this, and you can see I've put a lot of talk about what the program is and what it'll get for you and why I care about it. Here's a little bit about me, why it's so important to me and why I think it should be so important to you too, and what we'll do, and the dates. And you'll see a big Apply Now button. And if you click on that, that will take you to this little application. And the reason that there's an application process is that because it's so intensive and I'll be working so closely with you, I don't have room for everybody. So there are only 6 openings right now for the March one. So that's why, I just had to have an application process to make sure that everybody who gets in is really dedicated and awesome and a good fit. I want to make sure it's a good fit for you too. So go ahead and fill that out. And basically, to summarize, I don't know of any better system to get your business set up and attract clients quickly. And again, this isn't to become some scuzzy internet marketer or something. This is to become someone who really makes a difference in the world and builds a business that supports you in making that difference. And so the whole thing becomes sustainable, and it becomes something that feeds you and something that supports your family if you have a family, and makes it easier for you to live the life that you want to live. So you get the structure and the guidance to help you finish quickly. You get my full attention and help for 4 full days. You get to skip all the stuff that doesn't work because I've left all of that out. And you get to build your business right so that it's set up to support you and save you work for years to come. So just imagine having your business all ready to go in 2 weekends. Imagine having all that set up so that, anytime somebody visits your website or you meet somebody at a networking event, you know exactly what you do and you're proud to talk about it. And instead of feeling stuck or drowning in business to-dos, you feel the excitement, the pride, and the exhilaration of finishing, this platform and being ready to take on clients. You feel the joy of being able to proudly show off your website and really being clear on what it is that you do and what you offer. Imagine the confidence that you'd have in what you do and what you're talking about, knowing that you have it all clear and that you have all these systems set up so that when somebody stumbles across your website or meets you, you can start, your business can start cultivating them, and you can start building relationships with them so that when they are ready to buy, you're the one they think of. Just imagine being ready to spread the word and bring in your future customers, and knowing that you've built the foundation for a business that supports you, gives you consistent income, gives you everything you need as far as time and money, and makes it possible for you to do what you love. So that's what I want for you, and that's why I'm offering this program. Now, in the beginning of this presentation, I talked about a free gift, which is the resource guide with the exact tools that I use in my business, including how I conquer my tendency to procrastinate. You probably want to know how to get that, and I will tell you. Basically, what you want to do is click the order button at the right. If you click on the order form, you get this page, and if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see a little link here. Click here to download the resource guide, and that's what you'll want to click. Now, if you've applied for the program, I will send that to you, and you don't have to worry about it. I'll make sure you get it. But if you haven't, go ahead and click on that and grab it, and I hope you'll consider the program as well. I really appreciate your time. I hope this has been a valuable presentation. I hope you've learned a lot. And I really hope you will go out and do this, whether you work with me or not, whether you join the Business Building Blitz or not. I really hope you will build this for yourself because, and I hope you'll get support from somebody, because it really is the foundation for an amazing life. And I think it'll really make a huge difference and support you. If you have any questions, please email me at info@17,000days.com, and I will answer them personally. And I wish you a great rest of the day. Again, my motto is love yourself, love your work, love your life. And I truly wish that for you. Let me know if there's any way I can help. For the folks who will be joining me in the Business Building Blitz, I'll see you inside. I can't wait to work with you. And for everybody, thanks a lot. I really appreciate your time, and have a good one. Thanks. Bye.